Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another live stream. It is Friday. Hope you all are doing well. Hope you all have had a lovely week and are looking forward to the weekend. It is the game preview. Everton taking on Brentford tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock at Goodison Park in the FA Cup 4th round. Frank Lampard's first game in charge of Everton Football Club. He will be without the two deadline day signings that he did make, but nevertheless it is Frank Lampard's first game in the dugout at Goodison Park wearing an Everton trackie. At least he has actually managed at Goodison Park before in the dugout, and it was that game in which Everton beat Chelsea 3-1 and Duncan Ferguson was running up and down the touchline. But we won't talk about that today. We'll talk about Frank Lampard's first game in charge as an Everton manager and the new era, the new beginning, the fresh start, the positivity, the excitement, the happiness all comes tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock. I'm really looking forward to this one. I really am, to be honest. When we withdrew Brentford in the FA Cup 4th round, obviously after beating Hull in the 3rd round, made that one difficult for ourselves, didn't we? So when we drew Brentford, I was sort of, again, I had this feeling of could be worse, could be better. You know, obviously it's a Premier League tie, which is not really ideal. There were certainly teams in there that I would have preferred over Brentford, lower league sides that I think, you know, would have been without, you know, being disrespectful, would have been an easier tie. But then again, you never know that with Everton, do you? Nothing's guaranteed. But there was also other teams in there that you looked at and you sort of thought, well, Brentford isn't bad considering what we could have got, you know, at that stage of the competition. I think we've had Liverpool a couple of times at this stage of the competition in the past. So, you know, it wasn't a dreadful draw by any stretch of the imagination. It was a Goodison draw as well, a home draw, which is always positive. You know, a lot of people fancy us to beat anybody at Goodison Park, and I'm certainly more confident, you know, going into this game knowing that it's at Goodison Park than I would be, you know, if it was at Brentford Stadium. Brentford have got have created this absolutely massive atmosphere at this stadium, you know, this season. You know, I'm sure a lot of people remembered their first game of the season against Arsenal. It was absolutely electric. Obviously, they're in the Premier League now. You know, so, you know, the atmosphere that they create and the noise that their fans make is certainly one that I think would have caused us problems tomorrow. But it is at Goodison Park, and for me, it's about time that Everton start to do what Brentford have done at their stadium at Goodison Park this season, and that's create an atmosphere that away teams and, you know, away teams, players and fans turn up and think, bloody hell, this is an absolute bear pit. This is going to be a difficult game. I mean, there's an interview going around social media at the moment of Declan Rice, West Ham player Declan Rice, doing an interview with Gary Neville, and it's got absolutely nothing to do with Everton whatsoever. But Declan Rice was asked, you know, what's the most hostile away ground you've played at? And he said Goodison Park. And I remember thinking, I'm not really too sure when Declan Rice would have played at Goodison, when it was at its sort of pomp of that bear pit atmosphere and that hostility, you know, which obviously Everton has been known for and Evertonians have been known for bringing over the years. Because, you know, I can't remember the last time, certainly against West Ham, we had that type of atmosphere, and it's about time we bring it back. As I said, it's a new beginning now, a new start, a fresh start. Frank Lampard in the dugout. You know, we've got to get behind him. I know it wasn't many people's first choice. I know a lot of Blues were pessimistic and probably still are a little bit pessimistic about the appointment, but he's the Everton manager now. He's done all his interviews this week. He spoke very positively about the football club. Everything he says comes across in a very humble, but, you know, a manner of which you sort of look at and you think, you know what you're talking about. You understand what this club needs. You understand where this club needs to be. He had his pre-game press conference yesterday ahead of this game. He did say that Dominic Calvert-Lewin had picked up a knock in the game against Aston Villa last week, and therefore, the week before, obviously before the international break, and therefore will not be available for this game. He also mentioned Tom Davies and Abdoulaye Doucouré and Fabian Delph as the other two injured out players. I think we know Tom Davies is also out as well. He is recovering from his operation, but other than that, you know, he said it's pretty much a full-strength squad. We know, obviously, we're without Dele Alli, Donny van der Beek and Anwar El Ghazi for this one. They all are cup-tied, of course, after playing in the FA Cup previous rounds with their previous clubs, which is more frustrating on the Donny van der Beek's, sort of situation, really, because I think he played something like 11 minutes of Manchester United's last FA Cup game, and that obviously has meant that he's cup tired and he isn't able to have any part of tomorrow's game. I'm sure Donny van der Beek and Dele Alli will both be present at Goodison Park tomorrow, as well as Anwar El Ghazi, and I'm sure, Donny van der Beek and Dele Alli, maybe even El Ghazi as well, but certainly Donny van der Beek and Dele Alli will be presented to the crowd either at full-time or either at half-time or before the game, and be allowed to go and soak up that reception and soak up that atmosphere at Goodison Park. But as I said, we need to make this really, really loud tomorrow. We need to get Goodison bouncing. Let's turn up and let's leave this ground tomorrow thinking that was like the old Goodison. That's what it used to be like 10, 15 years ago, when teams would turn up and think, bloody hell, this is going to be horrible to play against because these are so loud, they make such a noise, and the players get behind it. And we know the players will get behind it because they've proven time and time again, regardless of who the manager is, regardless of how badly out of form we are, regardless of how difficult the situation around the football club is, these players have proved time and time again that if we turn up and we make noise and we make it a bear pit environment for the opposition, the players will get behind that as well, and they'll tell you that themselves. But it's Frank Lampard's first game in charge tomorrow. He has got a massive task on his hand. This game for me is really, really important. I've seen some people over the last couple of days on social media and stuff, and maybe this is just because of the importance of the next two Premier League games that have got going up, but I've seen a couple of people saying that they're not particularly interested about this one, and this one is the least important out of the three. I'd actually argue that this is the most important out of the three, and not necessarily results-wise, because obviously if you were to say to me, Cam, you beat Brentford in the FA Cup and get into the next round, but you lose both Leeds and Newcastle, or you win, you take 6 points out of Leeds and Newcastle, but you get knocked out the FA Cup, I probably would take taking 6 points in the league, to be honest, because I think that is more of a necessity now. I know some people won't be happy with that, but we absolutely need 6 points out of 6, but there's no reason as to why we can't get 3 wins on the bounce. And as I said, for me, I think this one is arguably the most important, because this can be the momentum setter, if you like. This can be the game where we go out there, we put a performance in, we win the game. The crowd are obviously loving it because it's Frank Lampard's first game in charge. The players are reacting to that. We might see a different type of formation or a different way of football or a different way of playing, and then you get the momentum and the confidence that you get from winning that game, as well as going into the 5th round of the FA Cup, and you're starting to look at those latter stages and another step closer to a semi-final at Wembley and another step closer to a final. But also you get that confidence and you get that momentum that is needed to go into, as I said, 2 of, for me, our most difficult games of the season. I think these next 2 Premier League games are season-defining, absolutely season-defining. If we lose both of them, then I think it will be a monumental task for Frank Lampard to keep Everton in the Premier League this season. If we win both of them, then all of a sudden we're starting to look a little bit more confident. We're starting to sit there and go, actually, is this really as bad as we once feared? It was another couple of wins and we're well out of it and we're all right and we're safe, and then we rebuild for the end of the season, for next season. Because ultimately, Frank Lampard's, I suppose, task in the near future, in the imminent future, is to keep Everton in the Premier League. We can sit here all we like and talk about the future of the football club and the style of play and the way of playing and the type of player that Frank Lampard is going to want to bring in and finishing in Europe or competing for Europe, but that's all in the future. We can't be sitting here now and talking about targets and goals for Everton and talking about Europe or, playing an unbelievably attractive, way of playing football as a number one priority, because at the end of the day, a number one priority is winning games of football and winning them by absolutely any means necessary. I want to see Everton playing lovely footy. I want to see us passing the ball around 350 billion times and having 422,000 shots on target. But if we're still going to lose games 1-0, and you were to say to me, well, you can do that, Cam, or you can lump the ball up constantly. It's horrible to watch, it's boring, but it goes in off someone's arse in the last minute and you win. I'm taking the latter option, because the number one priority for Everton at the moment is winning games of football. In the future, yes, style of play and lovely, attacking football and this, that and the other. Of course, that needs to be put into play, and you know, goals and in terms of finishing in Europe and this, that, and the other. But none of it will matter. Certainly not the European ambition if we're playing Championship football next season, and that's what I think Frank Lampard understands. But now has got to implement that first and foremost. It's about winning games of football. It's about keeping us in the Premier League, and once we're safe, then you start to look at the future and what the future holds under this new manager, which I actually think is a very, very positive and exciting future. I really, really do. I've listened to Frank a couple of times over the last couple of days in various different interviews and various different things that he's, you know, said both about Everton and getting the job, and also in the past about certain things. And I am really, really confident that Frank could be the man to take us forward. And I'm not just saying that because he's the Everton manager now, because I didn't say it with Rafa Benitez. In fact, I think I sat here and said, I'm basically waiting for this to go wrong. But there's just something about Frank Lampard that sort of resonates, and I sort of think maybe this is what Everton need. Maybe this is the type of manager that Everton need. But as I said, you know, Frank has got to understand, and I think he does, but, you know, Frank has got to now, the hardest job is implementing that winning games of football, because it's something that this squad of players haven't been able to do for a long, long time. You know, one Premier League win in 12 games. Yes, we beat Hull last time out in the FA Cup, but it wasn't convincing, was it? Let's be honest, and Hull aren't very good. So, you know, there's a winning mentality has to be implemented in there, and Lampard has got a massive task to get us out of this situation. And that's why I understand people saying, not really asked about the FA Cup game, because, you know, if we get knocked out, then we can focus on the league, or if we go through, then brilliant. But, you know, we need to focus on the next two games, and I understand it, and I absolutely agree. By the way, these next two Premier League games are ridiculous. You know what? It's actually annoying, and it pisses me off how important they are. We shouldn't have to be sat here on the 4th of February, the first week of February, looking at two games against Newcastle and Leeds and saying that these are season defining for staying in the Premier League. We shouldn't have to be we should be looking at these games thinking these are two great opportunities to get 6 points on the bounce and take us that one step, you know, closer to finishing in Europe or the Europa League or that fight for Champions League. We shouldn't be sitting here saying that two season defining games in February are between two other relegation rivals, that if we lose, we're in a really, really dangerous situation. But that's the situation that we're in, and that's the situation that Frank Lampard has got to deal with. But as I said, strangely enough, I actually think that this game is the most important out of the upcoming three, because this is ultimately Lampard's first game in charge at Goodison. He won't have another one of these. You know, as Everton manager, it's his first game in charge of the team, so we won't have another one of them. And I think this is, as I said, I think a lot has to be said about this game being played at Goodison Park. I really, really do. If this game was away from home and we went there and we struggled or we got a win or whatever, then yes, he'd still have his Goodison debut, you know, in a couple of weeks' time. But he'll have already managed this Everton side. We'll have known what he can bring. We'll have known the style of play. We'll know how the players react to it. I think a lot has to be said about us going to Goodison Park tomorrow and this being like a new beginning, it being like a new start, a fresh start, almost like a breath of fresh air for us Blues. And ultimately, Lampard has got to turn all of that energy, all of that positive energy into a result tomorrow, and then use that result to sort of build off, use that as a foundation. You know, I was always told as a kid that you'll never build a house without having the foundations at the bottom, the concrete foundations. Lampard needs to create this foundation of confidence and momentum and use that to go and get results in the Premier League. Because if we lose tomorrow, then we'll all be going into next week's game against Newcastle thinking this is going to be an absolute travesty. Sorry, not even next week, it's on Tuesday, isn't it? So it's such a quick turnover. It's not even a week. We play Saturday, and then we play on Tuesday, and then we play again on Saturday. So we've got three really, really important games within the space of a week. And for me, we've got to win all three. We've absolutely got to win all three. And if we don't, I think, again, you know, as I said, it just we need that win tomorrow. We do. You know, I don't really know what else to say, really, what other than that to say. We need that win to create that foundation, to create that confidence that can take us on to Tuesday. And you know what? The Newcastle game being so, you know, soon after this game could be a positive. It really, really could be. We've said, you know, we spoke a lot earlier on in the season, when obviously every single game under the sun was being postponed, we spoke a lot about Everton having 2 weeks rest and 3 weeks rest and how that could be a positive. And then we play a game after 2 weeks and we'd look absolutely dreadful, like the players had forgot how to play football, like they'd become complacent, like it was very much we've got 2 weeks off now, so we'll spend 4 or 5 days not really doing much, and then we'll get back into training. And then there was a sort of air of complacency, an air of, they'd had too much time off, they'd sort of lost that sharp edge. So having such an important game tomorrow, and then literally 3 days later having another, important game, as I said, for me, season defining, could be a big positive, because the players won't be able to have that, won't be able to sort of allow that, mentality of taking your foot off the gas to creep in. It'll be very much hard work, and I'm sure that's what it's been this week in training for Frank Lampard. Head down, hard work, get the game out the way tomorrow, go out and win it, and then you're in again on Sunday, you're in again on Monday, same stuff, and then you go out on Tuesday and you win that game as well. So I actually think the lack of break could be a positive for this Everton side. I do, and let's not forget, it could be a very, very different Everton team that play on Tuesday to the one that plays tomorrow. Obviously, we know Dele Alli, Donny van der Beek, and Anwar El Ghazi all are fit and ready to take part, and all are fit and ready to start games of football for Everton, but they're cup tied, so they won't feature tomorrow. So, again, you could say, the squad's looking stronger. Sorry about that. I've got a little bit of some sort of infection in my throat, so if you hear me coughing, that's why. We could have a completely different midfield come Tuesday to the one that we have tomorrow, so fitness shouldn't be an issue. But as I said, Lampard has got to go out and he's got to, he's ultimately got to put out a team that is good enough to beat a really good, a Premier League side. I know Brentford aren't doing great, 14th in the Premier League currently, and I don't think they've won a game since. In fact, I don't even think they've took a point since their last FA Cup win against Port Vale. But they're still a side with decent players in the likes of Ivan Toney. They've signed Christian Eriksen this week, who we know technically is an excellent player, so he will be, somebody to look out for if he plays. I don't know what his circumstances are with fitness and stuff, but if he does play, we know his ability. Obviously beat Everton earlier on in the season in the Premier League via a penalty, of which we should have had one ourselves, but we didn't get. So they're a resilient team. They'll work hard. They work hard for their manager, Thomas Frank, who, has them battling. And as I said, they're a team that fight for each other. They're a team that battle for each other. They're a team that'll look at this and think, right, although this is an Everton team with a new manager and will have a new bounce, it's still an Everton team full of players who are very, very void of confidence and aren't very good at the moment. So if you can get at them and you can force them into making mistakes and you can, put pressure on them, this Everton team are susceptible to conceding goals, and Brentford will be looking at this as a big opportunity to go further in the FA Cup, and they'll probably look at the FA Cup as a sort of an opportunity to maybe become an outsider to win it. If Brentford can get anywhere near the final of an FA Cup and stay in the Premier League this season, what a season that would be for them. So it'll be tough. It will be tough. As I said, since their last FA Cup win against Port Vale 4-1, they lost to Southampton just after that, which is 4-1 again. They lost to Southampton. They lost to Liverpool 3-0 after that, lost to Man United 3-1, and then lost to Wolves 2-1 after that as well. So in the last 4 Premier League games, they haven't took a single point whatsoever, and that was obviously since their last FA Cup game against Port Vale. Kevin says you have not got COVID, have you? Get a lateral flow test. I haven't, mate. I haven't got COVID. Don't forget, Baz is just that. He did, but I wasn't when Baz tested positive. I hadn't been around Baz for about a week, if not more, when he tested positive. It's not. I've got sort of one of my glands is inflamed, so I think I've got some form of infection there. But it's not the co. It's not the co. As I said, obviously we know, Brentford have got a number of decent players that can cause Everton problems tomorrow. They've got the likes of Ivan Toney, Christian Eriksen, Pontus Jansson, Sergi Canos, Jonas Leisel, of course, who ex-Everton goalkeeper. Whether or not he starts tomorrow is another thing, but he'll be around, which will be nice to see. Last time we played at Goodison last week, we had another ex-Everton goalkeeper, didn't we? And Robin Olsen playing for Aston Villa. So, yeah, again, as I said, we know that Brentford have got quality. We know they've got players in there that can hurt Everton. We know they've got players in there that can become a nuisance. But it's all about Everton tomorrow for me. I'm not really interested in Brentford. They're a team that can be beaten. Of course they are. Any team can be beaten, but this is a side that Everton should be looking at beating, even without a new manager bounce and this, that and the other. Brentford are a team, no disrespect, that Everton should be comfortably turning up at Goodison Park and being able to dispatch off and move on, into the next game. And as I said, I am really, really looking forward to this one. I'm really, really looking forward to it. Frank Lampard's first game in charge, I think the atmosphere will be bouncing. Frank has got to implement that sort of new style of football and give us fans something to hold on to, something to grab onto. But I also think, as I've said a number of times in recent weeks and months, and I'm not going to keep badgering on about it, but as I've said before, I also think we as fans have a responsibility to get Goodison rocking tomorrow. Let's turn up and let's not stop making noise from minute 1 to minute 90. As I've said for far too long now, us as Evertonians have had this sort of duel with the players of, well, we won't show a reaction until you give us a reason to show a reaction. And the players, I think, have almost had that, well, we're not going to, we can't show unless you get behind us and you back us. That's how it works. And we've had this duel of, well, we won't do anything until you do it, and this, that, and the other. Let's throw that out the window now, and let's just get into the ground, get behind the team, get behind the players, make it bouncing, as I said, make it a bear pit for the opposition, and that will naturally cause Brentford a lot more problems. Those Brentford players will find it much more difficult to play against an Everton side at a Goodison Park that's absolutely bouncing than they would do playing against an Everton side at Goodison Park that's flat and toxic and as it's been recently. And I don't think it will be like that because of the new manager and stuff. But let's get behind the team, let's get behind the players, and let's ultimately get behind the football club, because we need to start winning games. And as I said, I know some people will go, well, this isn't a Prem game, Cam, so it doesn't really mean much. But imagine we go out and win this comfortably, and and we play really good football and we score a couple of goals and the manager's up and down the touchline and there's just that feel-good factor returns to Everton. Imagine how much confidence that'll give to the players going into Tuesday's game, which is a season-defining game ultimately. So that's all we can hope for. As I said, we need to get behind the team, we need to get behind the manager, but also it'll be really, really nice and really, really exciting to see Frank Lampard as the Everton manager. What can he bring? What team will he play? We will be giving our predicted starting 11s in a moment, by the way, after we've been in the comments, so let us know your thoughts on those. But what position will he play? Will he play some of the young players? Will he give some other players a chance? He's already said he'll play a strong squad, because that's what he does. He said in his press conference yesterday that when young players deserve the chance, they'll get the chance, and he's not afraid to say that. But they've got to earn it. They're not just going in there because they're young and they're doing well in the under-23s. They've got to get into training. They've got to work hard. They've got to earn it. And if he feels they have earned it, then they will be part of the strongest squad. So really, really good comments, and I was really, really impressed with the press conference yesterday. As I said, we will be getting into our predicted starting 11 in just a moment, but let's get in the live comments first. If you are enjoying, please hit that like button. It only takes a second. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe as well. That would mean a massive amount to me. Eugene says, Everton issues supporters code of conduct. I don't know what about. Jake says, hang on. Pardon me. Jake says, takeaway in the Mighty Blues on a Friday night. What a feeling. Is right, mate. Is right. If you are enjoying, by the way, please hit that thumbs up button. It would mean a massive amount to me. Kevin says, Everton tacos for me. Win-win is right afternoon, Cam, mate. Cheers, Kev. Hey up, Blues, says Philip. What's happening, Philip? Jake says, sat in the lower Gladys for the first time. Tomorrow, I can't wait. Is right, mate. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. Might have to join you there, fella, says Thomas. Eugene says, Frank Lampard is an Everton throwback as Machete makes change. Is that a headline? I don't know. What takeaway, Jack, lad? Chinese for me is right. Domino's Pizza, says Jake. I'm having a pizza tonight. It might be a pizza hut tonight. To be honest, I can't wait. I absolutely can't wait. I love pizza. Eugene says, Frank Lampard said yesterday that Dominic Calvert-Lewin won't play because of injury. Yes, Dom is out with injury. Did say that he's due back outside on the training field next week, so hopefully he will be available for at least the Leeds game. The Newcastle game might come too quick, but at least the Leeds game, which obviously is vitally important that we go out and get the 3 points. As is Newcastle, to be fair, as is Newcastle. Is right, Lars, says Thomas. Declan Rice is talking through it, his hole in his back. Nice, mate, lovely. Had a steak with salad last week, says Kevin. Is right. Can't beat a juicy steak, says Phil. Being on a special diet for 3 months of the steak was a great way to break the diet. Is right, mate, love it. Shame we can't use the new signings. Yeah, it is. It is. Evening Cam, evening Blue says testicles. Cheers, mate. Kevin says, evening mate. Kevin says, I'm all for a ball going in off someone's arse. As am I, mate. As am I. I really, really am. Philip says, I'm still pissed off at Newcastle for getting our game postponed until they reinforce it. Could be a disaster for us. Yeah, and that's why I think it was Southampton. I remember reading a couple of weeks ago, Southampton were trying to get a rule put in place that, you know, any games that were postponed by teams, that they wouldn't be able to use players that they've signed after those games have been postponed. So, i.e., Newcastle wouldn't be able to use Kieran Trippier because when the game was postponed, Kieran Trippier wasn't a Newcastle player, etc., etc. But as with any rule in the Premier League, that would have meant 14 teams would have had to agree to it, and I don't even think half of that amount agreed to it, to be honest with you. So it was definitely something that other football clubs were looking at and feeling the same. And it is for me as well. Look, I think Newcastle have made a couple of decent signings, and they've got a couple of decent players in there. But you know, you've got to think they've got a good player in Bruno who's come over and is technically a really, really good footballer. But how will he fit in to the Premier League? And then they've brought a number of good Premier League players that will no doubt improve them, but will they be able to settle in that Newcastle team instantly? Let's not forget, this will be Newcastle's first game since signing all of those players. Are they all going to start at the same time? And if so, are they going to be able to work together? You know, is it all just going to click like that? And if it does, then can you ask Newcastle what the secret is? Because Everton started to do that, but put 4, 5, 6 new players into a team at the same time, and it just didn't work. And usually it doesn't work. Tottenham started to do it when they sold Gareth Bale, brought about 8 players in, basically made an entire new squad, and it didn't work because the players hadn't had that relationship with each other. They hadn't moulded. And I'm not saying that'll happen with Newcastle before it comes back to bite us on the arse, but hopefully it does. Hopefully that they haven't had that time to sort of mould a partnerships and relationships. Yeah. Eden says, get your score prediction for Everton versus Brentford in. The Barlow's obviously says, we've won 1 game out of 13. I can't say it's winning 3 in a row, but I hope we do. That's it. But if we get a win tomorrow, and it's a good, confident win, and we play really, really well, and Brentford aren't really in the game, and the atmosphere's great, and the players are loving it, and the manager's loving it, then we might get that confidence boost to go and get another couple on the win. Tight 2-1 says Philip. Kevin says Lampard is articulate and can speak particularly well. Testicle says the boys should be well up for this time to impress the manager, but you never know with Everton. Spot on. Kevin says I reckon DCL is off. The lad has gone missing for some reason. He's injured. He's injured, mate. He might still leave in the summer, but he's injured. He's not just got off for any reason. Is VAR involved in this fixture? Says Hernandez. I believe so, because it's a Premier League fixture at a Premier League ground. So yeah, I believe so. And Mark Borton has become a member of the channel. Thank you very much, Mark. Really, really do appreciate that, my mate. If you're not interested in becoming a member, it is the join button next to the subscribe button. It's 99p because it's the cheapest that I could make it. And yeah, it would mean a great deal to me. If not, then please just hit that subscribe button. We did hit 6,000 subscribers a couple of days ago, so thank you all so much. It would mean a massive amount to me if you could hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. But thank you all so much for the support over the years. It really, really does mean a lot. And if you are enjoying this team so far, hit that like button. Why not? It only takes a second. Let's get into my predicted starting 11 then. Frank Lampard's first starting 11 as Everton manager. We'll all be sitting there tomorrow at the pub or in the house thinking, oh, get him, what a starting 11 this is, I can't wait for this one. Or will we all be sitting here scratching our heads thinking, not quite sure what he's gone for there. Who knows? Let's be honest, it's Everton, so we never know. But let's get into it. In goal, I've gone for Jordan Pickford. I know Asmir Begovic has been preferred to Jordan Pickford for these FA Cup games, and I know obviously he was preferred by Rafa Benitez for the last fixture against Hull, and I actually think he had a good game against Hull, to be honest. He made a really, really big save in extra time to actually deny Hull a 3rd goal, and that would have taken the game to penalties, of course, which would have just been an absolute disaster. And if Asmir Begovic was to start tomorrow, then I wouldn't particularly be too unhappy, because as I said, his performance in the last FA Cup game was brilliant, and I think he certainly deserves to have an involvement in this season, and that isn't going to be in the Premier League, is it? Unless obviously Jordan Pickford picks up an injury, which touchwood doesn't happen. However, given Frank Lampard said he's going to go for the strongest squad, I'm not really sure whether Frank Lampard has had a history of rotating goalkeepers in the cup games that he's played, at previous clubs. But it's a 50-50 really with this one, but I'm going to say it'll be Jordan Pickford that starts. As I said, I think Frank will want to take a look at Jordan and will want to put out the strongest team possible so that he can sort of see, I suppose, where the faults are and where it needs to improve. If, let's be honest, if Frank Lampard puts Begovic out there and we lose tomorrow and Begovic makes a mistake, which again you could say with Jordan Pickford, but if Begovic makes a mistake, then people will be saying, well, why didn't he just start Jordan Pickford? It's his first game in charge. Why not play his strongest team? So I actually think it will be Jordan Pickford who starts. Left back then, I'm going for Vitaly Mykolenko. I know obviously he picked up a slight knock before the game against Aston Villa a couple of weeks ago. He's back in training, according to the pictures and the videos that we've seen over the last couple of days. Let's be honest, he will start. We spoke a lot about Vitaly Mykolenko over the last couple of days and the fact that, some people don't seem to think he's good enough and this, that and the other. But ultimately, at the end of the day, he's a young lad. He's coming in from a new league. He's coming into, to a new country, a new environment, a new society, a new way of living. And it will take time to adjust to that. Of course it will. We knew that when he come in. We all sat here and said when he was announced that this will take time. And I don't know why any of us are surprised that after 2 games he's not Roberto Carlos. It was never going to work like that. And I think the only way he will continue to improve and get that time is by playing games of football. So let's hope that Frank Lampard gives him that chance tomorrow, and I actually think he will. Centre backs then I'm going for Yerry Mina and Ben Godfrey. I think that it's our 2 strongest centre backs, albeit Ben Godfrey hasn't been particularly great at this current moment so far this season, but I think he still fits into that bracket of one of our 2 best centre backs, with Yerry Mina being the other one. I still don't think Michael Keane is particularly good enough. Mason Holgate I don't think is particularly good enough. And as I said, Frank Lampard will be wanting to go with his strongest team possible. And ultimately, if he does want to do that, then both of those players, Ben Godfrey and Yerry Mina, fit in that. And then right back, I am going to go with Nathan Patterson. I'm sort of torn between this idea of, do we really want to play Mykolenko and Patterson at the same time? They're both young and this, that and the other. But we're going to have to at some point, aren't we? We can't keep living this, you can only play one or the other. You can't keep living this, it's a risk to play both fullbacks. We're going to have to play them both at the same time, because one is our number 1 left back and one is our, let's be honest, should be our number 1 right back. If he isn't now, he certainly will be in the next 12 months. So there's going to have to come a point where they both play. There's going to have to come a point where they're both in the same starting 11 and they're given that trust and they're given that backing. And I actually think that Frank Lampard will be the man to do that. And I actually think that will be tomorrow as well. Really, really looking forward to seeing Nathan Patterson and what he can bring. He was excellent in the under-23s game against Spurs a couple of weeks ago. And yeah, I think he's very attacking, forward-thinking, but he can defend as well. And he knows the importance as a defender. And again, he's another young player that will be looking forward to working with Frank Lampard, the manager who is, over the years, certainly the last couple of years as a manager, promoted young players and given them that chance and really sort of put his arm around them. I think Nathan Patterson will be looking at Reece James thinking, if I can get to anywhere near the level he did under Frank Lampard, then I'll be in good stead. So I actually think Nathan Patterson will start tomorrow. In the midfield then, I'm going with a 3 in midfield. I'm going with a 4-3-3. Partly because that was predominantly the formation Frank Lampard used at Derby and Chelsea. He did use other formations and he did chop it and change it every now and then, but I'm going with a 4-3-3 just to sort of, just to as a mark point. I am going with Alan Andre Gomez and I'm going with Jean-Philippe Gbamin as the 3rd midfielder. Obviously, we know Abdoulaye Doucouré isn't fit. The manager announced that yesterday in his press conference. We know Fabian Delph isn't fit. We know that Donny van der Beek and Dele Alli are cup-tied, so they won't have an involvement either. And we know that Tom Davies is injured as well. So when it comes to playing a 3 in midfield, there's not many options, is there really? You've got Alan and Gomez, who are pretty much guaranteed to play, and have played a lot recently. And then the other option, either Tyler Onyongo, moving Mason Holgate or Ben Godfrey into the midfield, or giving an opportunity to Jean-Philippe Gbamin. And I actually think Frank Lampard will give that chance to Jean-Philippe Gbamin tomorrow. Listen, we've only seen him, for 45 minutes against Wolves in any real capacity. I know he's come off the bench here and there, but we've only really seen him in any real capacity for 45 minutes against Wolves. And he wasn't particularly great, I'll admit it. He wasn't. I was at that game. I was at Molineux that day, and he was awful. He looked like he'd never seen a football in his life. He was really, really poor. But he was playing in the midfield too against a team that are very, very quick with the ball and were always going to outplay us, always going to outrun us in possession, you know, and always going to sort of, I suppose, you know, again, overrun us. And I know people saying in the comments, Pep went for Townsend. Yeah, and Townsend maybe will play in that area. But Townsend played against Villa and was absolutely awful. And if Gbamin isn't going to play, then when will he play? When will he get that chance? And it might be Tyler on Yango. And if it is, then obviously we'll get behind it. But I'm not too sure Tyler on Yango's fully ready to be starting games yet. But again, I might be wrong, and if he is, then we'll never know until he does start games. Will be a little bit like with Anthony Gordon. But again, I do think Lampard will give a fair chance to everybody, and I think Gbamin will get that fair chance as well. I do. So it'd be interesting anyway. I do think we'll go the 3 in midfield. As I said, there's not many options, but there's certainly different options that we could go with. So let us know what you think on that. Obviously, as I said, Alan and Gomez are pretty much a set. I think maybe not Alan. He might save Alan for Newcastle, but if it's not Alan, then who is the 3 going to be? And then front 3, I'm going for Anthony Gordon, Richarlison, and Damari Gray. Obviously, no Dominic Calvert-Lewin. We know we're without Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Alex Iwobi will be back for this game, obviously after returning from the African Cup of Nations. If that means anything. We know Anwar El Ghazi obviously is out injured. Lewis Dobbin is an interesting one. Don't think he'll start. I do think we'll see him, but I don't think we'll start. And then obviously, you know, you've got Townsend and stuff, who, as I said, Townsend got his chance to start over Anthony Gordon against Villa and wasn't particularly great. I wasn't impressed with him whatsoever. And I would rather have Anthony Gordon in there. And I think the way Anthony Gordon played when he come on against Villa, and the way Anthony Gordon's played a lot in recent weeks. Sorry, I'm just cleaning my camera. The way Anthony Gordon's played in recent weeks, I think he deserves a start. I think he deserves a start more than anybody in this Everton team, if I'm being honest with you, and I think he will get that. I do. So there you go. That is my predicted starting 11. Let us know your thoughts on it in the comment section down below. If you agree with it, let me know. If you disagree with it, let me know as well. Let's get into the live comments before we finish up. 6k subs are well deserved, says Philip. Thank you very much, my mate. Really do appreciate that. Does mean a massive amount to me. Good luck to Everton under 23s tonight, says Eugene. Absolutely. Play Rich up top tomorrow. I think he will, says JT. Everton 2-1, says William. Is right. 2-0 for me, says JT. Is right. Anthony says, alright, Cam just got in from work. Any news on the lineup? Other than Dom being out injured, nothing that we don't already know. Some of our players have to show Lampard that they can play and win games, and some of them will be out the door in the summer, says Kevin. Absolutely. If you can get a tune out of Dele Alli, you are onto a winner. I agree. Dub says, watch us smoke them 5-0. Come on, you Blues. Let's hope so. DDS, sorry, not Duds. Can I still watch even though I support Cardiff? Of course you can, William. Of course you can. Hit that subscribe button, mate. JT says, can't wait to see Patterson flying down the wing. Reckon he will assist Richarlison. Let's hope so. Let's hope so. Lavivit says, can you get ESPN Plus on TV? Isn't ESPN Plus an American site? Should be electric tomorrow, says Kevin. A couple of people asking where to watch the game tomorrow. I can't say, but Phil has put a comment in, which is where I would be going to watch the game if I wasn't at the game. So, there you go. Over to Resign the Victor. He says, Rich is right, mate, me too. DGST says, Cam, well done on 6k. My first YouTube account was in the first few hundreds. It's still banned for calling someone. I'm still well done, lad. Thank you very much, my mate. I know you've been here for a while. Thank you very much. I really, really do appreciate that. It means a massive, massive amount to me. I think Everton will be Brentford, says Eugene. Is right. Get that likes up and support. Cam says, Peter, thank you very much. If you got that like button, it would mean a great deal to me. Kevin says, good picks, Cam. Don't know myself. See what happens. Be interesting who plays. Anyhow, it will. It certainly will. I don't think Rondon will start, but you never know. Unknown has also put it in the chat. And Donovan and Jags on the bench, says James. Imagine. Imagine. Ashley Cole has joined the Everton backroom staff, which is an interesting one, and obviously bodes really, really well for Vitaly Mikalenko, because he's now got the 2 best Premier League left-backs of all time to guide him to becoming, hopefully, another one of the best left-backs in the Premier League has ever seen, but let's not get too ahead of ourselves. But yeah, Ashley Cole has joined Frank Lampard's backroom staff, of course, which was announced yesterday, I believe. But there you go. That is our game preview for tomorrow's game against Brentford. As I said, I do expect it to be tough. Brentford will know exactly what, you know, the new manager bounce will bring, and Frank Lampard being in the dugout will bring, but we've got to make the most of that. We've got to make the most of it, and let's hope that, Frank gets his first win. And as I said, let's make Goodison an absolute fortress tomorrow. Massive thank you to everybody for watching live. If you have got involved in the live comments, thank you all so much. I really do appreciate it. If you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. If you're watching a YouTube video, leave your thoughts down below, and we'll get involved with as many of them as we possibly can as well. We will be back tomorrow with the instant match reaction and the player ratings directly after the game, so don't forget to join us for those as well. But until then, massive thank you all for watching. I really do appreciate it. Hit that like button if you haven't already. Subscribe if you're new, and we'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues. Cheers for watching. See you after.